Thank you, Bobby. Thank you, Gordon. Thank you, everyone. Our cantor, Rabbi Brown, Carl, everyone who participated in our service. Thank you so much. You may have heard that a few weeks ago, there was an incident here in our sanctuary, right here. We were hosting the mayoral debate for the top 5 candidates for mayor here in Vancouver. It was organized by CIJA and Success. The candidates were seated right here on the bima behind me. Sophie Liu from Global TV was the moderator. She was seated over here. In the middle of the sanctuary were media and journalists and cameras kind of all stacked up. CIJA had prepared the questions with Success in advance. They hadn't shared them with the candidates. There was to be no participation from the congregation, from the audience. And then about halfway into the debate, the topic turned to the rise of hate crimes in Vancouver, in particular the rise of anti-Jewish and anti-Asian hate. One of the candidates began their answer to the question and spoke about their intention to suggest to the council that they pass the International Holocaust Remembrance Alliance's working definition of anti-Semitism. And the moment that they referenced that framework, a protester stood up in the congregation right over where Arthur and Glenda are seated. It wasn't you guys. I was sitting just a few rows back, kind of where Jerry is, and I caught this out of the corner of my eye. I guess you could say instinct took over, and I leapt to my feet. The protester started to unfurl a banner, and I won't repeat to you what was said on it, but it had words like anti-Semitism, it had words like apartheid, racism, and Zionism. So I went up to this person and quietly, but firmly, but quietly said to them, "Sit down or leave. This is not the place for that, not here." And as I was admonishing them that this sanctuary was not the place, that the rules of our debate said no participation from the community, 2 or 3 more protesters stood up with similar banners, with similar signs here in the congregation. Using a voice that not even my kids have heard me use, I bellowed, "Not in my house. If you want to put up signs, put them up in your own house. Not here. Not in my house." I repeated it a few times. Sophie Liu, the moderator, called security, which was in the room. They were escorted out. One of the protesters continued to yell and scream as she left. The room erupted in applause, which was unnecessary. I apologized to the candidates for the disruption, which was necessary. And the debate continued. I've been thinking, of course, a lot about that incident over these last few weeks, because it's emblematic of the world that we live in today. I want to be clear. I am all for political debate. We were hosting a political debate right here at that time, an exchange of ideas at the very moment that those protesters stood up and unfurled their banners and signs and yelled out their slogans. But that act was not political dialogue. That was political theater. What the sign holders did was political theater, and what I did was political theater as well. Neither their actions nor mine were helpful to their concern about Palestinian human rights, which I care about too, or my concern about Jew hatred on the left hiding behind criticism of Israel. And because it was theater from both of us, they don't know the depth of my concern for their issues, and I have no idea if they care at all about mine. Theater isn't dialogue. Theater isn't debate. Theater solves nothing. Now, theater is dramatic. It's provocative. In fact, we often need theater to alert us to problems, but today, the problem is theater. We want to address and redress our differences, our grievances. To do that, we need honest dialogue, not theater. What took place in our sanctuary is really, I think, a metaphor for what is happening not only between left and right, but within the left and within the right, as well as within universities and companies, professional organizations, museums, congregations, even families. Everyone has his or her own narrative about things, and a narrative which excludes everybody else's narrative. We are fractured, we are splintered, we are broken, we are divided into so many different camps and tribes, more and more opposing groups. And the more we try to purify those groups that we identify with, the more we further split our society more and more. Social media does this inherently. That in itself is bad, but what has made our current social discourse so destructive, so much worse, is that there is no incentive to understand where the other is coming from. There is nothing to encourage anyone to compromise, nothing to encourage anyone to strive to reach consensus. In fact, it's just the opposite. In our social media-fueled, hyper-polarized, who can shout the loudest and be the most provocative world, a world that we created for ourselves, our politics have become our religion. And so changing your mind becomes an act of heresy. Our politics have become our religion. And so if you change your mind, you've committed an act of heresy. Even listening to the other side gets you labeled a heretic, grounds for excommunication, banishment from your own side. We have come to believe that dialoguing with those that we disagree with, watching their news, reading their opinions, we've come to believe that it's a sin. It's not a sin. It's a mitzvah. Being familiar with, conversant with the other side of the debate is actually a commandment. It is our obligation. Debate and difference of opinion are not the enemy. They are how we arrive at truth. The Hebrew word for truth, emet, makes this point all by itself. The word is constructed of 3 letters, aleph, mem, and tav, the first, the middle, and the last letter of the Hebrew alphabet. Thus, we arrive at the truth only when we incorporate all ends of the spectrum of thought, left, right, and middle. The Jewish tradition of engaging with so many texts which are contradictory to each other, it's actually created a Jewish way of thinking that I think is perfectly suited to address the widening and deepening divide between us and between groups of us. There's a story in the Talmud about passionate and often heated debates. The Talmud is filled with passionate and heated debates. These between Rabbi Yochanan and his brother-in-law, Resh Lakish. Back and forth, Yochanan and Lakish would argue day in and day out. And it was during one of their passionate and sharp-tongued debates that Yochanan upset Resh Lakish for the last time. Yochanan was hurt, and so was Lakish, which was not unusual. But this time, before they could make up, Lakish dies. Yochanan is inconsolable at the loss of his study partner, and so his students, they decide to send him a new study partner, an accommodating scholar known for his calming manner. The name of this replacement partner was Elazar. So the Talmud tells us that no matter what Yochanan said about any passage of law or anything in Torah, Elazar would always agree with him. He would agree with every single word that Yochanan said. And this would go on for the better part of a week. Yochanan would make a point. Elazar would say, I agree. Yochanan would make another point. I would say, you're right. Yochanan would say something else. Yes, absolutely. Every single time. Finally, Yochanan can't take it anymore. And he lashes out at Elazar. Elazar, you are no Lakish. You are no Lakish. Lakish would respond to me with 24 difficulties to each word that I said. And that I would give 24 answers to each of those words, which produced a fuller comprehension of the law for both of us. But to everything that I say, you say, I agree with you. Eleazar, I already know that what I say is right. I'm the one who's saying it. I need a friend who is wise enough to explain to me why I'm wrong. And then, the Talmud records, Yochanan rent his clothing, he ripped his garments, and he cried. He wept and cried until he died. Some say he went mad. We don't need more friends who agree with us. We don't need more likes on our Facebook or Instagram posts. We need to test our views in the marketplace of conflicting facts and opinions. We need to surround ourselves with people like Lachish, not fan clubs of Eleazar's. 19th century British philosopher John Stuart Mill wrote, "In all of the great political and social struggles of our time, each side is correct in what they assert, but wrong in what they deny. If each could recognize the claims of the other, there would be little left but to have a complete picture." If each could recognize the claims of the other, there would be little left but to have a complete picture. In the Talmud, the two great schools of thought, Beit Hillel and Beit Shammai, you might remember them from Pesach and the Haggadah, they model the importance of how we can disagree with each other, even criticize each other, without tearing our society apart in the process. These two schools, Hillel and Shammai, were composed of thousands of students. And in the whole history of rabbinic debate, they almost never agreed with each other about anything. The split between them, the divide, was so deep that according to the Talmud, the Torah became like two different Torahs when they would debate its meaning. But they followed two rules that we also must learn as a society if we have any hope of stopping this theater of grievance and bridging the divide. First, even though they vehemently disagreed with each other on matters of Jewish law and custom, the students of Beit Shammai and the students of Beit Hillel ate in each other's homes and married each other's children. They did not let disputes in one area prevent not only friendship, but even cooperation in other areas. And second, when it came down to determining who was right on any particular subject matter, we learned that the law would generally follow Beit Hillel, not because they were more lenient, although they were generally more lenient, but because the students of Beit Hillel would begin their argument by teaching both their position and the position of Beit Shammai. And in fact, they would teach the position of Beit Shammai first. It takes incredible confidence in your own views to be able to validate and articulate the views of others. Now, of course, you'll get no argument to your position if you only permit or hear one side of the argument. I know many who like the sound of their own voice, myself included. But in the social media echo chamber, you'll never learn what you don't already know. And that's why Hillel needed Shammai and why Yochanan needed Lachish, because Judaism does not only welcome diversity, it demands it, insists upon it. Diversity of opinion, thoughts, and ideas. So how do we get out of this mess that we have created for ourselves? Because we're the ones doing it. How do we stop playing to the crowd like those protesters did, like I did, in response, which only further divides and enrages us? We need to do three things. Number one, we need to be conscious of what game we are playing when we confront those we vehemently oppose and disagree with. Do we want to change their minds, defeat them, show off how smart we are, or do we want to find a way to live together? Because those are foreign and incompatible goals. And many of us come into this whole thing with this idea that I'm right and justified in my views, but your point of view is not only wrong, you don't have a right to have that point of view. If we pursue those goals, and if we play that game, engaging in that theater, we're just going to be angry all the time. And people are so angry. You have to see it and hear it. That's the schools of Hillel and Shammai. They engage in debate to seek truth, not to seek destruction. And when the debate was over, they danced at each other's weddings. They went on with life together. Number 2, we need to read each other's opinions and follow each other's news sources, not to confirm our biases, but to challenge them. We need to be curious and we need to be humble. To effectively and respectfully make our case, we need to show that we are capable of entering into the mindset and the worldview of the other side, seeing what they see through the prism, through the lens of their values and their experience. To paraphrase an old line, we need to walk a mile in their shoes, even if they rub us the wrong way and give us blisters. Ask questions. Be curious. Because it turns out that each group is actually right about some things, maybe a number of things. That's Yochanan and Lachish. That's the verse that's right here on my talit. It's been there for 22 years. Ezehu chacham lomed lekol adam. Who is wise? The one who learns from all people. Why do I have it on my talit? Because I could forget. We forget. Or as Shakespeare put it, the person who thinks they know nothing, the person who thinks they have nothing to learn is a fool. And so here's the homework. Go to a moral community that you disagree with and acknowledge something that they are right about. Go to a church, a different synagogue, a mosque, a community group, a political organization. Don't stand in their sanctuary and unfurl banners and proclaiming why you believe that they are wrong about everything. Sit, listen, learn. It might be hard. You might have to hear a lot that you fundamentally oppose that offends you, but so what? Listening is not agreeing. Listening is learning. So listen, seek knowledge. Listen for values, not policy. Find agreement. Reject your confirmation bias. Seek the whole truth. Left, right, and center. Seek the emet. You can try this, actually. You can try this in the next few minutes, because we're going to leave here soon, and you're going to all head home, your cars, your bicycles, you're going to walk wherever it is to your Rosh Hashanah lunch, wherever it might be. Turn on that news channel that you never listen to, that you think is fake news, and try to understand their perspective. I'm not saying you have to agree with them. Just try to understand where they're coming from. It might even help you better understand where you stand. Third, ideas can be inflammatory and disagreement can be dangerous. And things can boil over and real conflict and real violence can result, and we have seen that happen. The problems of maintaining peace in the face of ideological conflict, it is an existential challenge for every society, including ours. And no society can long exist without managing it. The Torah says, sinat hinam, senseless hatred, unmanaged conflict, is what destroyed the world in the time of Noah. It's what destroyed the Jewish people in the time of the first and the second temple. And it says that that's why the Talmud was created. That's why we refer to the school of Shammai and the school of Hillel. The answer to ideological conflict is to build up institutions of authority, universities, courts, houses of worship, formal, structured political debates like we were trying to host here. We must build up our institutions, not tear them down. Strong moral institutions are the bedrock of democratic success. Institutions are essential because they are set up to pit people against each other in managed conflict. Like the debates that filled the Talmud, like the debate that Sophie Liu was managing here on our Bima. 3 steps, 3 things that we can take individually to collectively heal our fractured society. It's not a game. Our inflammatory language and behavior is going to destroy us. Studying views you disagree with is not a sin, it is a mitzvah. So seek emet, seek the whole truth, left, right, and middle. And strong democratic institutions of authority, they make lasting communities. They manage conflict. They resolve disputes. A rabbi once asked his students, how do we know when the night has ended and the day has begun? Now, that's an important question in Jewish tradition in halakha, because there are certain prayers that you only say in the nighttime and certain prayers that you can only say in the daytime. So you have to know when night ends and day begins. So the brightest of the students offered an answer. He said, Rabbi, when I look out at the fields and I can distinguish between my field and my neighbor's field, then I know the night has ended and the day has begun. A second student offered his answer. He said, Rabbi, when I look out into the fields and I can distinguish between my house and my neighbor's house, then I know the night has ended and the day has begun. A third student raised his hand and said, Rabbi, I can tell the difference because when I look out into the field and I can see an animal, and I can tell if it's a cow or a sheep or a goat or a donkey, then I know that the night has ended and the day has begun. Fourth student offered yet another answer. Said, Rabbi, when I see a flower and I can make out the color of that flower, be it brown or yellow or red, when I can determine the color of the flower, whether it's this color and not another color, then I know the day has ended, the night has ended, and the day has begun. And each answer brought a sadder and sadder, more severe frown to the rabbi's face, until finally he shouted, No! No! You do not understand. None of you understand. You only divide. You divide your house from your neighbor's house, your field from your neighbor's field. You distinguish one kind of animal from another kind of animal. You separate one color from all the other colors. Is that all that we can do? Dividing, separating, splitting the world into pieces? Isn't the world broken enough? Isn't the world split into enough fragments? Is that what the Torah is for, to further divide and separate us? No, my dear students, he said as his voice softened. It's not that way. It's not that way at all. So then, Rabbi, tell us. Tell us, Rabbi, how do we know when the night has ended and the day has begun? And the rabbi stared back into the face of his students, and with a voice gentle and imploring, the rabbi said, when you look into the face of the person who is beside you, and you can see that that person is your brother or your sister, then you know that the night has ended and the day has begun. We must stop dividing. We must stop the theater. And we must find what we agree on, and we also must accept our differences and our right to disagree. Learn from each other, even if what we learn is that we see things completely differently. Let us at least understand why we see them differently. Debate and difference of opinion is not the enemy. They are how we arrive at the truth. It is a mitzvah. And so let me finish where I started. If those protesters don't stand up, I don't stand up. If they do, with their signs and their banners, then I do. And I shout them out of the room. And regrettably, I will do it again. The same goes for anyone who denies my existence or spews hatred or incites violence. We all have limits, and there are places on both the left and the right that I will not go, but I will stay within civil limits. But if instead they seek to understand me and I seek to understand them, and we meet across a table in the marketplace of ideas instead of in the theater of the absurd, then maybe like Reish Lakish and Rabbi Yochanan, our arguments make our own positions clearer. And maybe like the schools of Hillel and Shammai, we respect each other's right to have their own point of view, different from our own. And then maybe, as the rabbi taught his students, we see that that person is our brother, our sister. And then finally, this dark night, where all we do is divide and divide and divide each other and amongst each other, finally this dark night will end, and a new day, a new year, will truly begin. Ken Yehi Ratzon, may it be God's will. Shana Tova.
Shana Tova.